Okay, so here's my Grizzly G0605X1 5-horse single phase 220 volt 240 volt 12-inch table saw. Startup is pretty intense. I've got a 40 amp breaker, 6 gauge wire or 8 gauge wire going over to the panel directly on a breaker, and I've got 60 amp service out here. It's generally I can run anything else. I've got a 20-inch planer. I've got welders and dust collector. 20-inch planer is a 5-horse motor as well, but it doesn't have the startup torque that this one has for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it's geared differently, the planer is. Anyway, if you look at the lights, I got a bunch of fluorescent lights. I guess I got about 9 of them in here. And it's nice and bright. When I turn this saw on, it really has a fairly large inrush current. Every now and then, the line voltage drops enough where it'll trip this magnetic switch. So check this out. Let's see if I can do this with leaning back, pressing the button so we can see the saw, the button, and the lights. Well, let's just do the lights. Here we go. That's a couple seconds of dimming. Once it draws about 8 amps with no load, just the saw itself. But the inrush current is significantly higher. It's well over 100 amps. I haven't really been able to capture exactly what it is. It might even be as high as 200 amps. Breaker over the panel seems okay, but like I said, this mag switch here, every now and then, depending maybe on what I got going on at the house and the power line voltage, I think what it's doing is it's doing a low voltage trip. You can hear the relay in there click. So far today, it hasn't done it. So what I'm thinking about doing is putting a, let me turn this off. And you can hear the centrifugal relay click here in a minute in the motor. There it goes. So you can hear that. It's sets the starter cap back on. Anyway, saw cuts great. I mean, once I get it on and running, cuts fantastic. Took me about a day to get it in here and put it together, hook it up to the dust collect. Dust collection is kind of crappy. I just ordered a boom, overhead boom, Grizzly, and I'll tie it into my dust collection system, or maybe run it off of a different one. There's the fine dust coming off the blade, especially when you have this thin stock. You're ripping thin stock like this. Here's some poplar. If there's not a lot you're taking off, maybe just the kerf width of the blade, it'll spit out a whole bunch. If you're ripping off of a wider board, the dust collection seems to work real well. Well, it works okay, but you can see there's a lot of fine dust everywhere. It's spewing out, and it's pretty much everywhere in my shop. It's even gotten my my deer heads dusty, so I'm about to clean those puppies off, vacuum them out. Here I haven't cleaned the table, this table in a while. I got a piece of plate steel on it. So you can see that's the bad stuff. I need to get that fixed. So, but right now I ordered a hyper engineering soft start module, and I'm going to attempt to hook that up to the between the switch and the motor. Hopefully I'll get that to work. I'll probably try it on a different machine, maybe my old shaper table. That's a 3-horse motor, I believe. Doesn't have nearly the inrush that, even though those cutter wheels on there, those 6-inch cutter wheels on that dang planer are massive. They're much heavier than these little, well, they're not little, but these 12-inch table saw blades. Anyway, the saw's been good so far. I haven't really made anything. I made a headboard that I've been putting off forever. But everything was dead nuts on. The bevel was dead nuts on. I can show you that real quick. pop this off. And grab my machinist square. I love these little squares. I only use this not for drawing or anything, but just for get this fence out of the way. So you can see, and I made no adjustments at all. That's dead nuts on. I've used multiple squares on this thing. I go around the other side. The other side is a little bit harder because of the insert here, the zero clearance insert. But I mean, it's flat up against the blade. And you know, the meter is at 0. Over here, it's not quite at 0. That little red thing, a little bit, it looks like about, I don't know, half a degree maybe, quarter of a degree. It's hard to tell. I don't really look at that. I haven't made really any bevel cuts. So, but perpendicular 90 degrees, dead nuts on. So I'm happy with that. The other thing I noticed is the adjustments on the fence gauges were right on. I used a pair of calipers to measure this. Now, I don't really like these beveled ones or these bubble reed things, whatever the hell they are. It's kind of a pain sitting down here. But if I get that right on 6, that's right on, see, it's right on 6 there, but if I look at it over here, it's kind of hard to tell what is 6 and what isn't 6. For this kerf blade, which is somewhat of a narrow kerf Freud, let's see if I can set this down without this puppy falling. I'll put a block of wood here. A stupid phone, I should use a GoPro for this. And then grab the calipers. Or heck, I'll just use the scale. So it's a 6-inch scale here, and it's at 6 inches. So, I mean, it's maybe a little bit more than a couple thousandths away. So that's pretty darn good. It's not the best way to measure it, maybe right here. Yeah, so it's a little bit off. Not perfect. I just put a thinner blade on there, so maybe that's what it is. So you can see 6-inch. Got a slight gap there, not much. On that cutter. I like to make them a little oversized anyway, because when you feed your board through there, you're not going to be super tight up against the fence in most cases, so maybe several thousandths off. Let me just put that back. Anyway, shop is a little tighter in here now because of this beast. My old saw was a piece of crap contractor saw that I bought a long time ago, and it's out in a woman's shed. In the woman's shed, we call it the she shed. It's that little building out there. She got a little tired of me having all the fun places, so she needed a spot to hang out. So we did a bunch of work out there, had the saw, table saw, the contractor saw out there, and it's gonna stay out there. So I don't want it in here. But yeah, the saw's a good thing. Only issue I have, 2 issues I have right now are the dust collection. It's kind of crappy, and partly that's the dust collector is kind of crappy that I have. It's only a 2-horse jet. And then the inrush current, again, is fairly significant. It's not too noisy. Some of the other blades, I got some thick ripping blades. They make a lot of noise. Real high pitched sound. I really gotta wear. You really should wear muffs. But yeah, does the job. So far so good.